Am I the asshole for walking out of my own birthday dinner after my husband kept ignoring me? My husband has been ignoring me whenever I try to have a convo with him or tell him something important. He'd just sit and stare. Whenever I try to call him out on it, he'd disagree and say that he does pay attention. This has been going on for 2 months. On my birthday, he took me out to the diner. I was perusing the menu. After a few uncomfortable minutes, I said, "I think I'm getting a headache." He finally responded, "Go ahead, sweetheart. Get whatever you want." I was fuming. I confronted him about how he wasn't listening to me, but he again disagreed. I decided to gather my stuff and walk out. He freaked out and tried to get me to come back, but I didn't. At home, he yelled about how I behaved in such juvenile way and embarrassed him at the restaurant. He said I ruined my own birthday when I explained how he was basically ignoring me, and told me he owes me jack shit. Now he's expecting apologies. Am I the asshole for how I reacted? But I have to ask if he's experiencing some neurological issues. This is so bizarre. 1. He's going deaf. 2. He's having seizures. 3. He's being manipulative. Get 1 + 2 checked out before resulting to 3. ETA. Health issues are scary, and he could either be in total denial or actually completely unaware of his behavior. He might think he's the one being manipulated. Sometimes people lash out when they're going through a health issue and don't know what's happening to them, in denial. Record your half of the conversation and his ignoring of it. You need proof. I am not giving any judgment because this just seems so bizarre that you have to wonder if this is the entire story. Is he okay? A medical condition could be behind him zoning out often, especially if he denies he is doing it. Just very, very strange. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter that I'm no longer her father on the eve of her wedding? I, am 58, have a daughter Jackie, f24, who was married recently. Jackie's mother and I divorced when she was 2 and they settled in Texas while I'm in New York. I also have a son Mike, m28. Their mother married Joe, m70, when Jackie was about 15. I don't have a particularly high opinion of Joe, but no real complaints about him either. Jackie always seemed lukewarm about him. Despite the distance, I visited every 6 weeks, would FaceTime my kids, minimum, 1 a week. Paid all child support and supported and did anything else ever asked of me. It was very expensive to do this, but I never balked, never complained. I was there for every big event, and also any small event they ever asked me to attend. Jackie was having a very big wedding and I contributed a lot of money towards it. As in more than half the budget. At the rehearsal dinner, we were going over some of the discussions about the wedding and I brought up walking her down the aisle and the father-daughter dance. Jackie got very silent and told me that she already asked Joe to do it. I said to her, "But I'm your father." She tells me she really appreciates how kind, loving and generous I had always been towards her, but that she had to make a hard choice. I tell Jackie that I feel unbelievably betrayed. I also feel very manipulated that she is springing this on me the day before the wedding. Especially after she had me pay the lion's share of the costs. I asked Jackie if she knew that I wouldn't be getting the father of the bride role when she took the money and she went dead silent. I told her that if I'm not her father at her wedding, then she can't call upon me to be her father elsewhere in her life. If I've spent 24 years doing the work, paying for college, paying for her wedding, flying all around the country and carrying all the freight of being a parent, but at the biggest day of her life, her words, if she's pointing to another man as her father, then that's a life choice. Joe can take over paying for her law school tuition and then I'm changing my will to leave everything to Mike. I'm willing to maintain a relationship, but it won't be a father-daughter relationship anymore. She starts screaming at me how it is her wedding and it is her right to say who is a father to her and who isn't. So I ask her, so you are free to determine who is a father to you. I can't stop you. But if you can decide who is and isn't your father, then don't complain that I'm also free to decide who is and who isn't my daughter. She then told me I am a shitfather for abandoning her on the eve of her wedding. I told her that she was the one to announce a change to the relationship. She can't tell me I'm not a father to her and then have me continue considering her a daughter. Also, she chose to announce all this on the eve of the wedding. So, that's my story. Am I the asshole? Edits to answer common questions. No, I didn't find it odd that there wasn't any discussion of it before the rehearsal dinner. I've been in a few weddings. The instructions are usually pretty simple: stand here, walk out to this song and then go there. Obviously wish I asked about it. She never gave me a straight answer as to why she didn't choose me. Just that it was a hard decision, but it is her decision. Some people ask if her mother might have pressured her. I suspect that, as does my son, but ultimately I have no proof. Something I get a lot is that the relationship was all about money. Summing up a 24-year history and relationship as well as the actual conflict in 3,000 words can't get everything. I obviously can't teleport, so I can't have been in Texas every other weekend. But we talked all the time and about all of the things in her life. Giving her advice on getting into law school. I'm a lawyer. Talking about her relationships. She'd always ask me for my advice, telling me about her friends everything. It isn't like I was just paying child support and fucking off. Not the asshole. Why couldn't she have both of you walk her down the aisle? I've heard of that before, then no one gets hurt. Not the asshole, you are simply following her lead because she told you how she expects the future of the relationship to go. Walk away, go and see, and she'll probably eventually be reaching back out crying. I would take it with caution. I'm going with not the asshole but more on the fact that they hid this from you until the eve of the wedding. The money part, that's your call, but my guess is that they hid this fact from you until the very last minute, else you might pull out of funding a large chunk of the wedding. Not sure about the dynamics of their relationship with his stepfather, but it's plausible that despite what you did to support your daughter, he might have done significantly better. It's just that you maybe aren't aware of. Things like this should have been discussed properly during the planning phase. Am I the asshole for heaping out on food for my kids? 2 of my children still live with me at home. Neither one decided to go to college and both have crappy minimum wage jobs. They have an inheritance from their grandparents that they will get when they are 25. It's enough to live of if you live frugally for your entire life. But it seems like a lot of money. Their older sister just moved out after graduating from college. She did the grocery shopping and the cooking for the house. I gave her money and she took care of it. I tried this with the middle kid the first week after his sister moved out. Him and his brother spent all the money on delivery in 2 days. I didn't give them more money, so they had to spend their own. They were pissed. So now I buy the basics. Pasta, bread, eggs, cheese. That sort of thing. And I only cook for myself. My ex-wife, my daughter, and myself have all tried to teach them to cook. They refuse. So they have been having to cut back on their expenses because I won't buy ready-to-eat meals, delivery, or food prep. My ex moved to Wisconsin and my kids know better than to say they want to go live with her. They like Texas winters just fine after experiencing just one up north. They talked to me the other day about food again. They said I'm being cheap by not providing them with better food options. It was Saturday, so I went in the fridge and pulled out some chicken thighs I had defrosting. In an hour I had butter chicken and broccoli with naan bread for our lunch. I told them that I wasn't going to make any changes to how things ran in my house. I told them all they had to do was go to college and I would cover their meal plan. Nope. They like their lives other than the food situation. My mom called me today and said I was being mean to her poor babies. I offered to send them to live with her. She politely declined and dropped it. I do this with everyone who contacts me on their behalf. And then I tell them how it went. They don't understand why no one wants them to come live with them. I think I raised 2 stupid kids. Am I the asshole? #EDIT. My kids will not be able to run through their inheritance. It is in a trust that will give them enough money every month for a small apartment and ramen. It's not enough to party on every month, but it can be an awesome help to your budget. Not the asshole. I thought you were depriving small kids of food and was ready to blast you. You seem to be describing 2 young adults who have graduated from high school and have failed to launch. They seem to be running out the clock on the inheritance. Yeah, they can learn to cook or eat ramen then. Not the asshole, they should be capable of caring for their own needs. Let them rise and fall by their own choices. Nice work, Dad. My mom called me today and said I was being mean to her poor babies. I offered to send them to live with her. She politely declined and dropped it. I'm sorry, but this made me chuckle. Not the asshole op. Keep doing what you're doing. Your children having jobs mean they're at least 16, I'm assuming, so should be learning to cook for themselves. Keep giving the same people who are trying to pressure you to cave in the same offer you provided above. Am I the asshole for getting my son's ex better food than him? My son lives with me, which is fine. He is 35, but I have a big house and I appreciate the company and occasional help around the house. Previously he lived with his ex-girlfriend, Kira, who he had 2 children with. I love my grandsons and was very blessed that even from pregnancy that Kira let me be very involved as her mother died when she was very young and she doesn't have much family as she bounced around the foster system. Early on, even before the kids, we became close and I viewed her as a daughter, which my son encouraged. Last year while Kira was pregnant with their second, they split up. My son blames Kira, but I know from living with him and being a close support that it is at best 50-50. Once they split, my son decided he didn't want anything to do with Kira or the kids, and his previously encouraged and embraced view of our friendship turned and he wanted me to have nothing to do with Kira or the kids. I told him no. I was going to continue to be a big part of my grandkids and Kira's life. This has caused some friction, but we mostly operate on a don't ask, don't tell. Once a week I go to Kira's to see the kids, usually after I go grocery shopping. My son always gives me a list of what he wants and then I get that plus what I want and what I use to cook for us during the week. I do all the cooking for me and my son, but he often doesn't eat my food and opts for the ready-made stuff he asks me to get him instead, if that matters. And I always ask Kira if she needs anything. She usually says no, but I still always bring some fruits and veggies. She likes the same food I do, so I also will sometimes bring her part of what I get for myself if I know it's too much for me to eat during the week. An example is salmon. My son hates fish, but Kira and the kids love it. So I'll get a big one and portion it at Kira's and then bring home what I will eat for myself. Friday my son saw the receipt from the groceries and was irate how much the salmon cost for the amount I got. I told him the truth that I have 2/3 RDS of the salmon to Kira. He blew up and demanded I stop buying her groceries, or if I continue he wants the same amount spent on him. The thing is, I get him everything he asks for. It's just a box of Pizza Pops is less money than salmon. I also tend to get organic produce for myself and Kira and the boys, but my son refuses to eat certain things if they are organic. It doesn't make sense to me, but he said I am an asshole and read me a post from here about another mom who gave better food to one kid over another, so I thought maybe I would post. I'm sorry for any errors. I do use Reddit, but not this one, so unsure of the rules. Update. Oh my, I did not expect to get so many messages. I am trying to keep up. It would seem I have some thinking to do. Many of you have pointed out I am enabling my son. I didn't think I was, because I've been very clear how I feel about him not being there for the boys, but actions are as important as words. I will not stop being in Kira and the boys' lives ever, and in fact I will probably increase the amount of time and resources I give to them. I also want to just state in no uncertain terms, as I have had a couple messages and comments about it, Kira was never unfaithful. Her only crime was being unwilling to forgive my son for some actions unless he went to therapy, which he did not do, and rightfully informing HR at his former workplace of something relevant. OMG, not the asshole. Your son is totally taking advantage of you and has no say whatsoever as to how you spend your money or time. I think it's time he finds his own place and takes responsibility for himself and his children. Not the asshole. He's a child and a deadbeat father. I'd kick his ass out and ask Kira and the kids to move in. Not the asshole. Have you considered moving your son out of your home and moving Kira, grandsons in? Your son seems very spoiled. He needs to step up to be a better parent.